There is a kind of grief that the world has a word for. It is printed on cards and spoken at gravesides. The world makes room for it. Rituals, casseroles, flowers, people who say the name out loud so you know you are not the only one carrying it. But there is another kind of grief the world does not have a proper word for. It is the grief of losing someone who is still alive, someone who woke up this morning, who is breathing right now, and who has made the deliberate decision that you do not exist to them anymore. That whatever happened between you was the closing of a door that will not be opened again. That is a different grief entirely. No casseroles. No anniversary calls. Because from the outside, your life looks complete. You go to the grocery store and smile at the checkout woman, and drive home and sit in your kitchen in the evening, and you are absolutely alone in a way that is invisible to every person around you. The woman who sat across from me on my stage that afternoon was living inside that grief. She had been living inside it for 11 years. And she was 80 years old. 3 things today. What this woman said to me, what I did, and what she said to me afterward in the hallway when the cameras were off. The sentence that has not left me since. If you have ever loved someone who walked away, dialed a number that no longer answers, written a letter that came back unopened, celebrated a birthday alone that someone else should have been there for, subscribe right now and turn on the bell. My stage manager's name is Darnell. 14 years with me. He sees people. That is his gift. He came to my dressing room an hour before taping. Unusual, when Darnell comes an hour early, he has been thinking about how to say something. He sat down. He put his clipboard on his knee and looked at me. He said, "There is a woman in Family 4. Her name is Dorothy. 80 years old. She came with her church friends. She has a son, 53, lives in Phoenix. She has not spoken to him in 11 years. I asked what happened. He said, she doesn't know. That is the part I need you to hear. She does not know what she did. He stopped returning calls, stopped responding to letters. She found out through a family friend 3 years ago that he got married. She did not know. She has grandchildren. She does not know how many. I said, how did she end up here? Darnell said, church friends brought her. She needed something to look forward to. He stopped. She told one of our producers this morning she talks to him in her mind every day, tells him what she's been doing, what she cooked, what she watched on TV. A whole conversation in her head every single day, and then she comes back to the reality that he doesn't know she's doing it. Darnell is precise and calm and professional. But when he stood up to leave, he paused at the door. He said, she's a sweet lady, Steve. She's a really sweet lady. I sat in that dressing room for 40 minutes and did not review my notes. I thought about my mother, about what it would do to her, at 80, if I had made her invisible. About how a man lives with that. How a man lives with the knowledge that his 80-year-old mother talks to him in her mind every day because he will not answer her calls. Lord, forgive me. For the first 20 minutes out there, I let it go. Dorothy was easy to find in the lineup. Not because she was the oldest, though she was, clearly by decades. Not because her church friends were fussing over her, smoothing her jacket, adjusting the small pearl brooch at her collar. She was easy to find because of how she was standing, straight, still, shoulders back. The stillness of a woman who has decided that whatever comes at her today, she will receive it upright. She wore a lavender blazer, the kind of lavender that belongs to a certain generation of black women who understood that color is not frivolity, it is armor. Hair silver and set. Shoes matched. She had gotten dressed this morning as an act of self-respect that no circumstance could take from her. Her face was the face of a woman who had been beautiful her whole life and arrived at the age where beauty deepens into something more useful. Not resignation, but endurance. There is a difference, and Dorothy's face knew the difference. She smiled, a genuine smile, starting in the eyes. She said, "Well, you're taller in person." The audience laughed. Her church friends laughed. I laughed. I thought, 80 years old, carrying 11 years of silence, and she makes Steve Harvey laugh in the first 10 seconds. She told me her name was Dorothy May. Birmingham originally, Memphis for 52 years, school librarian for 31 of them. She said she always loved books because a book never walks out on a good reader. The audience made a sound, not laughter, something softer. I looked at her, and in her eyes, behind the warmth and the humor and the lavender blazer, I saw it. A mother looking for her son in every room she enters, still looking. At 80 years old, still looking. She played that game like she had a reason to win, and she did. Librarians know things. They absorb information the way other people absorb sunlight. She hit the buzzer on the third question and gave an answer so precise the number one response matched her phrasing, word for word. The board lit up. Claudette, the church friend in the red hat, screamed so loud a camera operator flinched. Dorothy clasped her hands and said, "With great composure," I read. The whole studio lost it. For those few minutes she was not a woman waiting for a call that would not come. She was a librarian from Birmingham who knew the answers and was not afraid to say so. It was between rounds when I asked her. I walked to her side of the stage and said, "Miss Dorothy, tell me something. You said you've been watching the show for years. Who do you watch it with?" She looked at me. Something crossed her face, quick as weather. She said, "I watch it alone, baby." The quality of the room shifted. Subtly, the way a room shifts when a truth has been said that is too honest to move past without acknowledging. I said, "You don't have family nearby?" She paused. In that pause lived 11 years. She said, "I have a son. He lives out west." A beat. We haven't. She stopped, pressed her lips together. Then, my son doesn't know I'm alive. The room went silent. Not polite television silence, the kind that descends when something true and irreversible has been said. The kind where you can hear the lights overhead, where 247 people all discover their lungs at the same instant. Dorothy was still looking at me, composed, a woman who has had 11 years to decide how she will talk about this, but her hands had found each other in front of her, holding on. I said, quietly, "Can you tell me what happened?" She said, "I don't know. That is the truth. I don't know what I did. I have asked myself every day for 11 years. I have gone back over everything I can remember. I have written it in letters he sent back. I have left it on voicemails he never returned. I do not know what I did, and I have accepted. Her voice did not break. She would not let it break. I have accepted that I may never know. That is the hardest thing. Not the missing him. I have learned to carry the missing. The hardest thing is not knowing what I did wrong, so I cannot even fix it." Claudette, in the audience, pressed her hand over her mouth. One of the cameramen, off to my left, turned his head for just a moment. I did not move. I stood in front of Dorothy May and let the moment be as large as it was. My father told me once that the biggest mistake a man can make is treating a sacred moment like an ordinary one because he's in a hurry. I was not in a hurry. 12 seconds. I know the count. The first thing was the host's reflex, the urge to reach for something that softens it, makes the room manageable again, I have been doing this 40 years. That reflex is automatic. I did not use it. The second thing was my mother. I thought about what it would cost, what it would do to a woman like her if I had become someone she invented conversations with because the real ones had stopped. What does an 80-year-old woman have left to fix this with? She has used 11 years. Letters, voicemails, none of it worked. And she is 80. The third thing was Dorothy's hands, the way they had found each other in front of her. The hands of a librarian who spent 31 years putting the right book into the right child's hands at the right moment, and who could not find the words to change the direction of her own story. That was the moment I understood why I was there. Not as a host, as a son. I made a decision. I set the microphone down on the edge of the podium, the way you set something down when you are finished performing and are about to be a person. I walked to Dorothy. Not at a professional distance, close, the way you stand to family. I took her hands, small in mine, cool and dry. The moment I took them, she exhaled, just slightly, the way a person exhales when someone has, without making a production of it, taken some of the weight. I said, Miss Dorothy, what your son is doing is not a verdict on you. She looked up at me. His silence is not a ruling. It is not the final word on who you are or what you gave. You do not get to go home today believing that his absence is your answer. Because it is not. She said, I'm trying to. I know. 11 years of the most exhausting kind of trying there is. But hear this from someone standing in front of you right now. You were a school librarian for 31 years. You put books in children's hands. You gave them whole worlds they did not have before they walked through your door. That is not the life of a woman who deserves to be invisible. I paused. And I am going to say something I mean, not for the cameras, not for the show. Because it is true, and you need to hear it today. She was very still. You were a good mother. I don't know what story he has told himself about the years you raised him. But I know that you got dressed this morning and put on that blazer and came to this stage and made this whole room love you in 4 minutes. A woman who can do that, at 80 years old, carrying what you're carrying, that woman was a good mother. She just was. Dorothy's jaw moved once. She did not cry. She had decided before she walked out that she would not cry, and she kept that decision, and I respected it with everything I had. But her hands tightened around mine. And she said, very quietly, thank you, baby. 247 people did not cheer. They made the sound a room makes when something true has happened inside it, and applause would be the wrong size for it. A low sound. A communal exhale. The kind a congregation makes after a prayer that hit exactly what it was aimed at. Claudette, in the front row, was crying for the both of them. Share this right now with one person, someone who has a mother they have let go quiet, who needs to hear what I'm about to tell you. Then come right back. She found me in the hallway after the taping, just outside the stage door. Her church friends a little ways behind giving her room, still wearing the lavender blazer, still upright, still composed. She said, I want to tell you something before I go. She said, I made peace with the fact that I might not ever get an answer, that I might die not knowing. Complete steadiness. But what I haven't been able to make peace with, what I have carried every single day for 11 years, is the question of whether he knows that I love him, that I have never stopped, that there has not been a single day. She stopped. Then, I talked to him in my mind. Did they tell you that? I said yes. She nodded. Every day. What I had for breakfast, what I saw on the news, the weather, and what was funny, and what made me think of when he was small. She paused. It sounds foolish, I know. I said, it doesn't sound foolish at all. I just need him to know. That is the only thing I have left to need from him. Not an explanation. Not an apology. Not even a visit. Just for him to know. I thought about what she was carrying. Not the grief of it, the specific weight of loving someone in secret. Of being faithful to a relationship the other person has abandoned, not because you have been deceived, but because you have chosen it, deliberately, every day, for 11 years, because it is simply what love does when it has no other options. I said, Miss Dorothy, can I tell you what I believe? She said, please. I said, I believe that when a mother loves a child the way you love your son, every day, without condition, in the silence, when there's nothing to sustain it but the love itself, I believe that finds him. I have lived 67 years, and I believe that love of that quality, maintained that long, finds the person it belongs to. Even if he doesn't know why, on some ordinary morning, he thinks about you. I paused. I believe he knows. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, I hope you're right. I said, me too. She squared her shoulders, set her chin, a woman gathering herself for the rest of the day. She said, you're a good boy. Like a blessing and a fact at the same time. Then she took my hand for a moment and let it go. Walked back to her church friends, and Claudette put an arm around her shoulders, and the four of them went down the hallway together, their voices getting quieter as they moved away. I stood there for a while. A 53-year-old man in Phoenix who does not know that today an 80-year-old woman in a lavender blazer played a game show in his honor. That she got dressed. That she answered the questions. That she made 247 strangers love her. For him, the way she has done everything for 11 years. For him, there are things in this life that cannot be undone. And there are things that can still be done today before the doing of them is no longer available. A phone call is still available. The drive to wherever she is and the knock on the door, still available. Not forever. But today. There are sons who have not called, daughters who have let years become the answer to a question they never resolved. People in houses that feel complete from the outside, coming home to kitchens that are quiet in the particular way of kitchens where someone used to be, and that used to be has been chosen. Do not let the silence become permanent by mistake. Do not wait until you are at a graveside understanding that the last conversation you had was not the last conversation you meant to have. Call your mother. Call your father. Call the person you stopped calling. It does not have to fix anything. It just has to be your voice. It just has to be, I know you're there. Because somewhere, right now, someone who loves you is talking to you in their mind, telling you what they had for breakfast, telling you about the weather, waiting for you to pick up. If this story stayed with you, do 3 things before you go. Subscribe, because this is a place where stories without easy endings still get told with the dignity they deserve. Share this with one person, the one who came to your mind while you were watching. Send it to them. Let them find what they need in it. And drop a heart in the comments for Dorothy May, because she is out there tonight in Memphis, in the quiet of her kitchen, talking to her son in her mind. She deserves to know that 247 people in a television studio and everyone watching this know that she is here. God bless Dorothy May. God bless every mother who has kept the door open long past the point when anyone would have blamed them for closing it, and every son and daughter who still has time to walk back through it. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. I'll see you in the next one.